welcome everybody to our first BCC Green Team meeting of the semester. I'd like to first start out by saying welcome to Tom. Tom is a guest from MCLA. He had some questions about how the Green Team kind of gets stuff done. And yes, I will send a hard copy via email of that agenda. Not a problem. I'll make sure you get that, Tom. Tom, feel free to ask any questions if you like. We're always happy to collaborate. Collaborations are one of the main reasons the Green Team is as successful as we have been. This is actually one of the things we're going to talk more about. This is the first year the Green Team has a budget, and we have already plans on how to spend a bunch of that budget, for better or for worse. And we're going to dive into that in a little bit. So, Tom, welcome.
Thanks. Yeah. Where did the budget come from? Just out of curiosity.
The Green Team has never had a budget before historically, because of my partnerships working so close with Christina Wynn and Ellen Kennedy on campus. Christina Wynn is our chief financial officer, and Ellen, of course, is the president. They said, how about you guys stop begging and we actually give you some money? And now, correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard two numbers. I don't know if it's 2,500 or 4,500. But as soon as Cody gets access to the self-service side of that budget, we'll have a little bit more knowledge of that. However, the plans that we have are not very huge. And one of the things I would like to mention really quickly is if we get near the end of our fiscal year and we still have a bunch of budget left, we're going to buy some Green Team t-shirts and give them to anybody who wants them. Definitely folks who've come to the meetings. But that's one of the things we'd like to do with our budget. We've never had any official Green Team t-shirts. So when we show up for events, it's kind of hard to tell who we are sometimes, which is important if you're doing work in the community like we do. So Tom, feel free to just kind of cut in and ask us any questions at any point. We're just going to kind of dig into our agenda now.
Okay. So, well, if I could just say, the reason why I'm here is MCLA, our recycling program and compost and other various programs like the No Mow May type initiatives, we have next to nothing of that. So coming out of BCC is kind of a letdown to see, all the cross contamination and the attempts at recycling and that kind of thing. And it's as usual when I see something like that, I'm just amazed that it's not second nature to people.
Right.
But so I would like to try to build something like there is down at BCC, or maybe do a co-sponsorship or something like that.
Yeah, awesome. Tom, why don't you and I connect through email and we can kind of dive into that, but I will give you a sneak preview. One of my favorite people from the facilities department, Deb Ellsworth, is here. And hi, Deb, how you doing? And that's an important, great. And I talked right over you because yeah, sorry.
That's all.
Great. But Deb is kind of our secret weapon over in facilities, because like the first step, of course, is getting the bins. Like we have 4-part bins on BCC campus, and then also building that into our student orientations and our staff orientations so that people know how to do it. We even have a video on how to recycle on campus, although at some point it probably is going to need some updating. So yeah, Tom, you and I will chat a little bit offline, but being here at this meeting, you'll kind of see how we get things done, and feel free to copy what works, ignore what doesn't work. And we're always here for partnerships and collaborations.
Okay, great. Thanks for the invite. Glad to be here.
Cool. So on to our agenda. First item is, and I see everyone here, is we have a new leadership structure in the Green Team. Previously, it was me who was the chair. And since I am no longer on BCC campus every day, you'll see a little bit of Williams College through the window behind me here. Linda Mary, Cody Johnson, and Sean Regan have all stepped up to help co-chair with me with various different responsibilities. So Cody has been helping to manage budget stuff and our day-to-day of some of our student workers, some of our work study students who do green team work. Linda has talked about perhaps assisting with that because she has some experience supervising student employees. Sean has helped with all kinds of different stuff. However, he is going to be one of our main Recycle Mania folks on campus, since he was a super help with that last year, and he kind of knows the steps. And so Sean and I are going to work together on getting the college registered, and I'm going to really rely heavily on Sean. And hopefully, Sean, you can find some other folks to help you too, because those dumpster checks, every day for 2 months are kind of hard, because sometimes life happens. You might have a doctor's appointment or car trouble, and then you miss a reading, and that can mess up all of our stats. So it's always good to have as many folks helping as possible with that. Now, I will tell you, Sean, that I drop off my son every day on campus this semester. I don't know what his classes are going to be next semester, but I might be able to help you out a little bit, because I usually float through campus every morning around, 20 after 7 or so, which is actually a perfect time to do those checks. But we'll start to do, Recycle Mania is not actually on the agenda. We'll actually start to dive into that more as we get closer. It starts in, preseason starts in January. Great. So thank you to the leadership team. Thank you for anybody stepping up and everybody stepping up. Let's go on to those other items in the agenda. So first area is ongoing projects, and I was hoping Jay Miller would be here to give us an update on, we were working on some signage for the bins that would hang over those 4-part bins, Tom, that we mentioned, that kind of would have pictures of here's a paper bag, it goes in this bin. Here's a container from the cafe and it goes in this bin. So that was the idea with those, also with the QR code on it that goes to the recycling video. But Jay is not here, which is okay. I'll reach out to Jay and get an update on that, find out where we are. Next item is the addition to the campus rental policy. This was solely in my corner, and because I had such a crazy busy summer between the construction and switching jobs, it just did not happen. So I'm keeping it on the agenda because we want to make it happen. And what this is for guests that come to campus, guests that might use the turf field or really any of our facilities, any of our rooms or buildings on campus, just a little bit of expectations, what we expect you to do. Like if you have a big pizza party, make sure stuff gets put in the proper bin when you're done. Be mindful of bringing styrofoam on campus. It's one of the few things that is not recyclable, not really reusable, those kind of things. So it's on the agenda only because I don't want to forget it. And it's something we'll all continue to work on. If any of the leadership folks want to step up and help me with that, just shoot me an email, let me know. And next item is only here because it's ongoing. Roberta is going to give an update a little bit later about our community garden and the Pollinator project. There's a bunch of different components to that, but we're going to talk more about that later on. Jumping quickly through this list, our next item is the Nature Trail sign refresh. I was hoping that Colin would be here, but he is not. One of the ideas that he had was to, again, work with Roberta to print out, 3D print new signs for the BCC Nature Trail and get those updated. And right now, I think that whole project is on the back burner. So unless there's any updates on that, we're just going to kind of move it along. Again, I'm just kind of keeping things here so we don't forget them. Roberta, did you want to say something about that?
It's totally on a roll, that project. Me and Colin
Is
already
it?
had 2 meetings. Yep.
Amazing. I had no idea. So great job picking that up. If you need any support from me or any of the leadership, Roberta, just let us know. Now that we have a budget, like we could even buy, like if Colin needed like more resin for the 3D printers, we could even help him out with that. I know that Frank Shakur has kind of been donating budget to help with that, but that's always something we can help with. So Roberta, if you happen to hear that he's low on stuff for the 3D printers, let him know we can help.
Yep. We already talked about it actually 2 days ago.
Awesome. I love it when people are already 2 steps ahead of me. That's fantastic. So our next item is Discover Books. We have a new book recycling bin that is by the loading dock. Folks might have noticed it. It's a big white bin with kind of like blue and green lettering on it. And the main reason we wanted to talk about it is because it has been incredibly successful. I think there has been 2, maybe 3 pickups of the book donation bin, and it's a pretty good sized bin. And they've been coming to pick it up because we've been filling it up. And that's awesome. And for folks who didn't know, any of the books that go into that bin, they are either reused, resold, or they're recycled. So anything that goes into that bin, unless it's like moldy and gross, doesn't really go to waste. I see some hands. Roberta, I saw your hand shoot up first. Sean, you'll be after Roberta.
We made a blog about it and we've been taking photographs all summer because the guys are coming a lot. The Discover guys.
I love it. Clearly, I need to be more connected because I had no idea. Sean.
Are we contacting them for the pickup, or are they on top of that? Is somebody sort of riding herd on that on our end, or how is that working?
The answer is yes, both. If we hear that it's full, we could shoot an email to the gentleman who coordinates that. Don't remember his name off the top of my head. And he's also coming on a regular schedule just to make sure that, and if there is anything there, I think he picks it up when he comes. So it's a little bit of both. And if anybody does happen to notice that it's full, just shoot me an email. I don't know facilities. I think I shared that email with you, but you could always get in touch with me, and like facilities doesn't even really need to be involved unless they want to be involved. We just got to shoot an email to this guy who organizes that, and he'll come really on like, he only needs like 1 or 2 days notice, and he'll come and empty it all out.
I guess I was just wanting to make sure, where that responsibility was landing. If there was someone on our end that was kind of having to supervise that, I wanted to either support them or say I'm happy to step in on that one if that's helpful.
That's it. That's a great thing about it, is we don't really need to do anything unless we notice an issue, and then we send this guy an email and he comes and fixes the issue. There's even like it's insured by Discover Books. Like it's really like the full thing is completely covered, no cost to BCC at all.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's actually, it's one of the best parts about this program is it makes it really easy for us because they do all the work. Cool. If there's nothing else, and check out Roberta's post, like she said on the Green Team blog. When I send out the meeting update, I'll make sure the link to that blog is right near the top, and I'll make sure I read it too, so I know what's there. But good work, everybody, on that. Anything else on Discover Books? Great. So next I'm going to go on to kind of 2 items. Both were suggested by Christina Wynn. One was a bin buyback event where the whole idea with that is most of our trash on campus is actually the plastic linings of those trash bags. Even if there's 3 or 4 items in it, they kind of replace the whole trash bag. And I see Erica is joining us. Hello, Erica. Thank you for joining us. I know you said you'd be joining us in progress. Looks like you're over in Hoffman too. That's great. So the bin buyback was basically an idea. If you got a trash bin in your office, bring it to facilities. They'll buy it back. They'll give you some sort of an item. Colin had suggested 3D printing some stuff. We also had the suggestion of a pizza party. Really, all those things are open. I'm not on campus anymore. So if anyone who's in leadership would kind of like to take the lead on a bin buyback program, or even student workers could take a lead on that too. There's really just a couple parts to it. We can connect a little more about it, but it's people bring their trash bins that they have from their office to facilities and get rid of them entirely. Probably use a more common trash bin from like a lunchroom or a more common area, and that just cuts down on those those bin linings that end up clogging up, because those are really not, they're plastic, they're just not good for anybody, but they're kind of necessary to keep the bins clean and to make sure that the maintainers have an easy time emptying them. And the other part of that was making a video. One of the skills that I have is making quick videos, just about like if you're going to be on campus, if you're going to be off campus, if you are going to, for example, go on vacation, make sure you turn off your lights. If you're going to be gone for a while, unplug your fridge, those kind of things. We were going to make a short little video for that. So if anybody has any inclination who's more on campus than I am to pick up some of those things and make a short video about it, I'd be more than happy to help you. But as for right now, we're just going to kind of keep those in the green team wish list unless somebody wants to step up and do that. I know it's a busy time of year, but they were great ideas from Christina Wynn, who, by the way, talking about budgets, she kind of like signs those checks that we used to spend. So she's an important partner of the green team. Any other thoughts on that before we move on to our next item? All right, so moving right along, speaking of the budget, last academic year, I had a student reach out to me saying, hey, do we have a battery recycling program on campus? And we used to partner with BEAT to do that. However, there is a cost. BEAT used to cover the cost of that. And there was just a cardboard box on campus somewhere that people could put batteries in that would end up being recycled. For folks who may not be aware, batteries have a lot of really kind of hazardous, poisonous components to them, lead, nickel, liquid chemicals, things like that. You can't just put them, you're not supposed to put them in regular trash. So a battery recycling program makes sure that the components are broken up, disposed of safely, recycled if possible. And there's a battery recycling program called Big Green Box. And basically it works per box. Each box is about $100. And when you fill it up, you send it back and they dispose of all the batteries inside of it. So Cody, at some point, once we get the whole budget and pro card and all that stuff figured out, well, let me know. And one of the first purchases that we'll make is one of these boxes. We were going to put it in the digital commons originally. And if you're still cool with that idea, or maybe like somewhere else, maybe somewhere in SBA, I know you're in SBA right now. Maybe that would be a better location, but really it can be anywhere on campus as long as people know where to find it. We can put a little thing on the Green Team webpage too. But as soon as we figure out the money, we will buy one of those things and start that program moving along. Any thoughts, comments, suggestions on Deb?
I just found out yesterday that Tammy collects batteries that people are done with, dead batteries. So if you have any, just let her know. And she has a box in her office.
Cool. I'll shoot Tammy an email and see how she does those. Maybe she would prefer the green team to take it over more officially. Maybe she just wants to work with us. But I'll reach out to Tammy and figure out the best way to go forward. Sean, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I'm just curious, and this is a little off topic, but how do we recycle tech on this campus, like our computers and stuff like that? Like, do we have
Good question. I actually have the answer for that because of my close relationship with IT. Because BCC is a state entity, one of the rules of state entities is whenever you have unused I think it's any item over a certain value, which pretty much always applies to computers, you have to offer to donate them first. So I'm kind of conflicted on this policy because we're basically giving somebody else, whether it's a school or a nonprofit, our old technology, which is at some point in time going to become their problem to dispose of. So that is our current model for monitors, towers, laptops, any of that stuff on campus. There's certainly other ways to approach it. However, I don't think the green team budget would cover, like, if for folks who've been at BCC for a while, you might remember we did a partnership with Guardian Life where we did a recycling program, and we actually filled 2 tractor trailers full of TVs, computers, stereos. Each tractor trailer cost something in the area of like $3,500, $4,000. So we don't even have the budget for one of those tractor trailers. And if we were to do one of those events, it would quite literally break the bank. So maybe in the future we can do another program like that, which would, ultimately, like, as far as our official campus policy as a state entity, it's donated and becomes somebody else's issue really down the line to try to figure out.
And it should go to IT first. IT will make determinations of whether or not it's something that can be repurposed or is of value.
Very true.
Individual stuff in individual offices, people shouldn't be making individual decisions it should go through IT to make sure that there's not a need elsewhere or.
Quite true. A lot of things can be, recycled, reused, like, the good tried and true water bottle method. And if I use this water bottle every day, but when I'm done with it, maybe somebody else will use it. Thank you, Heather. That's super helpful. Any other thoughts on the battery recycling? Basically, we're waiting for the budget stuff to come through so we can pull the trigger on that. Okay, I'm not hearing any. So moving right along, we're about halfway through our agenda now, just to give you a heads up. Our next item is the Pollinator and Community Garden update, and this is 100% Roberta's area. I know she's had a lot of help. So Roberta, what do you want to give us for an update?
Hi, everyone. Okay, so it's humming along like a hummingbird, and people are coming in and getting lots of various vegetables. We're being careful about, like, I'm not making big announcements like we have all this stuff, because it's really about feeding pollinators, not really about feeding people, because we don't have a cafeteria. We're waiting on getting the budget sort of thing going, because there's things that we need, and this time of year is a really good time of year to get them, because all garden type things cost less right now. It's led, one of the most exciting things is it's led on to a whole nother project of putting raised beds up at Hoffman so we can conquer the invasive plants issue. So that's like one of the amazing outcomes of the great, beautiful instant garden we got, thanks to Christina and Ellen and other great people that made that happen back in May. We're collaborating with more and more and more people on campus to get cool things done, finding out where the original deliveries came from, finding out which companies we worked with, finding out, pushing really hard for using like local ordering rather than getting things we need on like Amazon. There's been a lot of people that have helped out. I've been keeping track, and kind of like, if you help out the garden, you get to go home with like daffodils or green beans or parsley or something really nice. Just ask me and I'll make up a bag of stuff for you. The exciting other piece of it is that now I just had a meeting with Gina Steck this morning about grants, and she was one of the people that worked on the original grant for it. So we're going to dig into how it was done and what Katie did and what Dave Moran did, and we're going to work on making a similar garden all at the south front of Hoffman. It's in the planning stages. We've only, sent like 2 emails. We only just started. Some of you got that email, and more to come on that exciting new project. I think that's it.
Awesome. Good work, Roberta. It sounds like, and you're probably on top of this already, that the Hoffman beds would maybe make a good blog post at some point during the semester too.
Yeah, Gina Steck actually gave me the excellent idea this morning of doing like a in-house sort of campaign to see what's the interest around. She thinks that probably a lot of people will be really interested in helping to donate to make it happen. And then if make that happen first, and then the big grant people will look at us kind of like, wow, they really want this. And then when we're talking in the $5,000 range of grants, which is that's a round figure for what it costs to put them all in down there by SBA originally.
Great. And that was, you answered one of my questions. One of my questions is like, who's going to be paying for it, what budget? But it sounds like you're working with Gina on grants, which is amazing.
Yep. I'll have more news as it goes on.
Yeah, and Gina, if for folks who haven't worked with her, she's an amazing partner. She's magical at what she does and very, very talented. So knowing that Gina is helping you out with this, you couldn't be in better hands.
Cool.
Awesome. Roberta, I'm going to give an update in a second on the Pollinator project. I know a couple other folks were, and that's the Conway School part of that. Is there anything else you wanted to add before I mention that briefly?
No, I can keep it short. If people have questions, please use Teams. That's the best way to contact me. Email is bulky and slow. Teams is the best way to contact.
Speaking of that, if
Asking
you're a
you to
BCC
in chat.
person and you don't have access to the green team, I know there's 2 teams in that. Let me, Cody, or Linda know. As it turned out, Linda didn't even have access to it, and that was totally on me. So I fixed that. So if you go to BCC teams and don't see the green team listed there and you want to see it, let one of the leadership folks know and we can add you. And it just takes a second to do, and that's where we keep all of our stuff and where we send messages to each other. So that we can communicate as well. Great. Roberta, anything else you want to add?
Can't think of anything right now. Thanks.
Great. Just, cut right in if you do. I just wanted to mention really quickly, because there was a lot of community partners who were involved with the Conway School Pollinator project. And for folks who were at those meetings, the Conway School, they're a landscape design school out in Northampton, and they worked with a bunch of see your message, Heather, I'll make sure you get that. They worked with a bunch of campus partners to kind of do an assessment of our campus and just make some suggestions. It was kind of like I think they were graduate students. It was like a graduate student project where they did a whole survey and then an assessment of campus with some suggestions, and with suggestions on the scope and scale of what they had. The question always comes, well, that's amazing, who's going to pay for that? And there were some folks at one of the community meetings who had interest in helping. I have no idea where any of that stands right now. If anybody does, please feel free to unmute and share what you know. But as far as I know, unless we find funding for their projects, it's kind of just a really great idea that may or may not ever happen. And just to let you know, like one of the more extreme ideas was to build a whole boardwalk down on the wetlands on the south area of campus behind Patterson, which is full of complications. It's protected land, it's wetland, it's an expensive idea. Sure, it would be really cool to have like a elevated platform that our environmental science professors could go down there and teach a class at, but I don't know how practical that is with the resources that we have. So really amazing ideas. If anybody knows someone who is a philanthropist who wants to get involved in even making some of the smaller ideas on campus that they proposed on campus, like they had an idea for a sitting garden in the area that's kind of between SBA Annex and in the academic buildings. It's a really gorgeous area of campus, which is just lawn right now. And for anyone who was paying attention during those pollinator meetings, lawn is basically pollinator wasteland. There is nothing there. Lawns are like, other than concrete, lawns are pretty much the worst thing for pollinators. There's no biodiversity. There's really no interest for any kind of pollinators to be on your lawn. So again, great ideas. And if anybody has anything else to add about the Conway project, any of the pollinator projects, please feel free. This would be the time. Okay, I am not seeing any, so I'm going to move right along. And our next item is tomorrow is the Student Activities Falcon Fest. And Linda has offered to step up and be our green team representative for that. So she's going to be at the Falcon Fest. I think it's in the amphitheater area from 11 to 1. The weather tomorrow looks perfect. Couldn't have a better weather day for this. There's food, there's all kinds of stuff over there. And it's just a great opportunity to see what kinds of student activities students can get involved in. As far as the green team is concerned, Linda's going to be taking names and email addresses of students or anyone really who wants to join the green team so that they can come and get involved in whatever capacity they're interested in. As folks know, green team is totally voluntary. You just kind of come and help out as you see fit. You can come to meetings or not. You can watch the recorded meetings or not. You can come to events or not, or you can just read our emails if that's all you want to get. But we're always looking to add more folks who are interested to our green team list. So Linda will be there tomorrow to help us out with that. And if any, I don't want to speak for Linda, but I know when I did this event, if anybody wants to stop by and tag along or just kind of hang out or even just stop by and say hi, I very much doubt Linda would mind if you did that. Awesome. Anything else that I forgot, or anyone want to make some comments on Falcon Fest tomorrow? Okay, great. We only have 1 or 2 more items left on our agenda. So looks like we will be ending early, which is the way I like to run meetings, nice and efficient, but we get all the information out there. Our last item is the Green Team email list. And as I was doing plannings for this semester's meetings, I realized that all of the list kind of lived in my Outlook email on my old computer, which I don't even know where that computer is. I don't know if Cody has it or if IT has it or whatever, but I think it's time, especially since we have multiple folks who are helping with the leadership, that the BCC Green Team has an official email distribution list that everybody can see, everybody can send to. It would really make communication a whole lot easier across the board. So this morning I put in a ticket with IT to do that. I haven't heard back from them yet on an update, but knowing what I do about email lists, it's just a typey, and then it's done kind of thing. So I'm hoping that it won't take too much longer to get it set up. And going forward, I'll be sending all communication through the list. What this list does is it makes it so not only the leadership can add and remove people from the list easily, but anybody on campus can see and use that list. So even if they're like, hey, I want to let the Green Team know that, you know, there's a rare wild animal, you know, on some part of campus, that it's an easy way for people to reach everyone on the Green Team through their BCC email address. Roberta, I see your hand is up.
Is there a way to make that spam proof or whatever it's called that you do to lists like that?
Good question. And the answer is not really. So we won't be publishing the name of that list on the website. That's the main way to keep spam out, is to not put the name of that list out there.
Mhm.
And also for folks who are using the list, to make sure that they don't forward it to any bad actors. That's a little trickier because there's really no way to have any oversight on that. But it is a tool that I think would really help our communication internally, as long as we're a little careful and, you know, don't use that email. I would never use the email list to sign up for like another email list. Otherwise everybody would get spammed. Like as long as we do basic things like that, I think we'll be covered, and there shouldn't be any spam, just messages coming through the list. Good question.
Sorry, will it function something like the everyone at BCC, that kind of thing, but way smaller?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. It'll be the everyone list, but just Green Team members. And if folks don't want to get email anymore, they just send somebody in the leadership an email. We take them off of it, and that's it. They won't get any more Green Team emails. It's having it in that centralized location means it doesn't live in my email account, which it currently does. And I'm not even sure who's getting the messages when I send to the Green Team. Like it kind of obscures the whole thing and makes it really hard to see. So this list will make it a little bit more manageable and usable and helpful, especially when we have 4 co-chairs, which I don't know if that's ever been done before for the Green Team or any other group on campus. It's kind of a wild idea, having 4 co-chairs all shepherding things along. All right, any other questions on the email list? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, which brings us to our last item. Does anybody have anything that they would like to discuss in this meeting? Erica?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm wondering, is there any plans for the community cleanup or the campus cleanup yet, or no?
Usually in the past, we've done that as a spring event. So unless somebody really wants to take the reins and do and organize a fall one, I'd be happy to help. And if it's on a weekend, I can probably show up depending on when it is. There's a few weekends that I have that are already booked, but like right now we will be doing that in the spring. Erica, I know you do like river cleanups, things like that. If those are things that you want to post about and share about, like both the Green Team blog would be a good place to do that. And once we get this email list figured out, like you could certainly use it for that too. Although we do have to be a little careful not to over email folks. That sometimes gets them to, I know we all get a ton of email. So like we have to be strategic. Usually I like to send out emails to the Green Team group about meetings or big events that we have. Like, you know, I read all kinds of cool environmental articles, but I'm not necessarily going to send those out to everybody, or they might be less inclined to get our emails when they're more important. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you couldn't do that. It is, you know, just I think we would try to pop a couple other things in there if we were to send an email like that. So again, work with the leadership, and we'll if that's something that you want to do. And if anyone wants to do a fall cleanup, I'm not going to stop you. In fact, I'll do everything I can to help you along. But right now, I think we're planning on that for the spring. Cool. Anybody else have anything on that idea or anything else? Tony, I see you turned your camera on.
Hi, so I apologize for not speaking up earlier. This is about the Pollinator project. Because I was in the car at the time. Something that might be worth looking into, this won't help materials or organization, but if we need labor, just hands to get jobs done, something that might be worth looking into is reaching out to one of the local scout troops, because they love community service, especially for nonprofits and academic institutions. I don't remember what the policy is for academics, because we're not a nonprofit, but that might be worth looking into once the projects get a little bit further along, and like, you know, we have days, this is what's happening. So reaching out to local scout groups might be worth looking into. I don't know anything about Girl Scouts USA, formerly Boy Scouts, is all about that.
That's a great idea, Tony. I hadn't thought about that. By chance, do you have any run-ins with the Boy Scouts? Is that something that you might be able to help, if we do go that direction, might be able to help us out with?
Not locally in the area, but like I can definitely reach out. I was involved with the program for a long time, so.
Cool. Even just finding the
find.
right email addresses to use would probably be helpful.
Yeah, I know how to find, you know, Scoutmaster emails and stuff, so that might be
perfect. Perfect, because I definitely do not. I would have to do research to figure that out. So if we get to that point, that's a great idea. You might be our go-to person to figure out the best way to start that. Awesome, Tony. Thank you so much.
Yep. Let me just throw that on my to-do list before I forget. There. And I actually had a secondary question. I have no idea if this is within the purview of Green Team, but and I know it's well outside the budget of Green Team. But I'm not sure if anyone's ever brought to, I don't know, executive products committee or whatever, projects committee or whatever, at potentially looking at expanding access to the campus for electric vehicles, like putting on an EV charging point, which I know is super expensive, or at least putting, you know, standard power outlets on the light posts in the parking lot. Because people who own EVs, they'll have a little adapter for that. But that would be something to help encourage the use of electric vehicles for students. So I don't know if that's ever been suggested, but.
No, great question. And I don't know if anybody else has anything to contribute on this. Otherwise, I could say a little bit. I do know that with all the construction going on campus, this has been an issue that has been brought up more than once, and it is also near and dear to my heart as an electric car driver myself. Linda, you saw my little green car this morning. Especially as we get into these cold months where my car's range kind of falls in half, which I
own one as well, so I'm very much
awesome. Tony, we'll chat about cars offline at some point. That's amazing. But last I knew, another part of the trick to it is, if you're familiar with how the electrical grid or even just how the street system works, BCC's all the way out at the end of West Street, which is technically a dead-end street that terminates at some point up in the woods. And as such, we're also kind of this weird dead-end tendril of the electrical grid and power system. So when they've done assessments in the past, we kind of fall down in the priority list because of where our geographical location is. And it just makes it a little bit more, because if we were in the middle of the grid somewhere, I think it would be a slightly different issue. And the same goes true for, like, there's been a talk about like solar canopies and parking lots. If you've ever been to UMass, or actually I just drove by one of the golf courses in Pittsfield now, up on that hill. I forget what the heck it's called. They've got a bunch of solar canopies in their parking lot now too, maybe electric chargers. I didn't look that close. But that's one of the biggest challenges that we have. I know that there were some discussions about putting them in down at Patterson. However, last I knew, we were on a list of people who were kind of waiting their turn to get the electric car plug sort of treatment. So that's, but you know what? I haven't had an update on this in a while. So I bet you Dave Moran would know what's going on with this. Maybe I'll shoot Dave a quick email and just say, hey, a question came up in the Green Team meeting, electric cars, like, do you have any news at all for us on the status of getting chargers or anything like that on campus? So yeah, it's really important because I've been, for folks who know me personally, I've been spending a lot of time in California lately. And one of the weird things about California is there's tons of Teslas, tons of electric cars, and you never see them plugged in anywhere. People only plug in their cars at work, where their work pays to charge their vehicles. People go home and they just park it in their parking lot and generally don't charge them at home. So that just demonstrates there's all kinds of different ways to approach it. It's one of those things, the more layers you pull back, the more complicated it gets. And it's a good question because people are not going to be likely to bring their electric car on campus if they have nowhere to charge it, especially if they're following that California model. All right.
Yeah.
Any
just like a tiny little loop back, something that might be worth looking into, even if 240 volt charging isn't feasible. I know there is one light pole that has a power outlet on it. It's all the way at the end of the Patterson thing. It's not accessible by car, but even something as small as that might be worth throwing into some of the light poles in the parking lot, because that's actually how, so I work down at the hospital and that's how I charge at work, is there's just a, power outlet that happens to be in the garage. I plug into that and I live 2 minutes away. So it's a net gain for me. So.
Yeah. I'm super lucky and spoiled at Williams. I haven't even counted them, but there's car chargers all over the place and they're 100% free. I don't know who pays for it, but yeah, like when you get used to charging your car, it's hard to do it any other way. All right. Any other ideas about electric car charging? Any new ideas? Anything anyone else wants to mention before we adjourn? All right. Going once, going twice. All right. Thank you, everybody. This was a great first meeting of the semester. If anybody needs anything from anyone on the leadership team, feel free to reach out to us. All of us is probably the best way to do it. You could certainly reach out to us individually, but it's probably better if we all see it. So again, that's myself, that's Cody, that's Linda, that's Sean. And all of our names are on the Green Team website too. So if you forget that, you could just go to the BCC website, type Green Team into the search, it'll pop right up. All right, thank you, everybody. This meeting will be on the YouTube a little bit later at some point. Great work. I'm really excited for this semester. I'm really excited for this new leadership structure too. You folks are all awesome to work with, and thank you, everybody, for coming today.